And have you seen anything so far, any tangible benefits to your clinical practice as a result of AI? Is there any examples of stuff that you're
I mean, for me, it's a huge time saver. I've gotten rid of a lot of the rote mechanical things that plagued my normal life, like emails and a lot of my documentation, a lot of my prior authorization notes to the payers here that we have to argue sometimes for the standards of care. Certainly lots of things like letters of recommendation for people who work for me or trainees or those sorts of things. So very, very simple at that point. I use them a lot for my own research to understand some of the diseases I care for, starting to dip our toes into clinical decision support and management of things like navigation and the tumor registries, things like that as well.
Yeah. Could you give me an example of some of the solutions you're using, like some of the names of the brands, etc.?
Sure. Well, we're an Epic shop, and so a lot of these tools have been proffered by Epic in their early iterations. They have a deep partnership with Microsoft, so we use Microsoft Copilot here. We have a lot of third-party software that we've looked at and are evaluating for things like clinical trial registry. We just had a company in our auditorium today that was pitching to a lot of our leadership about how to manage some of these other business practices. And then in my personal life, I live on them. Everything that I do is done on Gemini or Perplexity or Claude 4.0 or OpenAI's GPT-4 Omni, and I move back and forth depending on the individual use cases.
Okay. And can you tell us, is Gemini best for some things while ChatGPT is better for another? Or like how do you decide what to use where?
I think they tend to leapfrog each other, right? Each iteration improves on the one before. And for all of them, the premium models are similar-ish, and I'll describe some differences. And the one that was just made free is better than the last premium model. So Claude 4.0 is now $20 a month, whereas Claude 3.7 is now free. And Claude 3.7 used to be the $20 a month version. Do you follow? So I enjoy Claude. Claude is very good for coding. Claude is very good for natural writing. I find that deep research on GPT-4 is fantastic. Perplexity as well, if I'm looking up things. Whereas I used to use search engines, now I use Perplexity instead of Googling. And then I'd say probably my overall backbone of what I do is on Gemini because it has such a enormous context window that it remembers everything I've ever given it, which I starting to understand my voice and who I am and what I care about.
Yeah. And speaking of voice, what percentage of your work is done through voice versus typing?
Fair question. 50-50. I do a lot in the car. That's I have a self-driving car. I try and be efficient, but I still have to keep a hand near the wheel or on the wheel. And so most of my stuff for my commute is definitely spoken in. The longer prompts that I'm building, if I do a 3/4 page prompt, I'm a horrible typist, so I'll do that by voice. If I'm sedentary, seated at my desk, and I have a defined task that I could iterate with a prompt, I'm still typing those.